A Florida man was arrested for attacking an ATM with a hammer. A Florida woman kicked her man in the groin for not bringing her to the strip club. A Florida woman told the police that the crack pipe found in her vagina was a sex toy. And a Florida man told the cops that Jesus instructed him to drive off the pier. These are the weird stories for Friday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian and the only daily weird news podcast that does Florida Fridays. All the weird news from Florida this week. I'm so grateful to have Florida Friday in my life. Are you? A Florida man was arrested for beating an ATM machine with a hammer. That sounds about right. I know I always carry a hammer when I'm interacting with complicated technology, such as an ATM machine. Those things can be tricky. Sometimes they take your card if you type in your password incorrectly 17 times in a row. You guys know how it is. Or if you're using a card that isn't yours, just trying to figure it out. You know, sometimes you're just trying to figure it out. What it could be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, huh? It says here, a Florida bank customer had to be arrested after allegedly using a hammer to pound on an ATM after he could not get his card back. We have some employees of a Bank of America, a questionable institution. These employees were at the bank. They were in a meeting around 9 a.m. when they heard loud noises and some yelling outside of their bank structure. When they looked out the window of the Bank of America, they saw a man yelling at the ATM and rocking it back and forth while demanding in a loud voice that the machine give his card back. This is according to the arrest report. The man went back to a white pickup truck and retrieved a hammer, which he then used to beat the ATM machine into submission. After striking the machine several times, he got into his truck and drove away, they say. I'm curious why he didn't go inside the bank and ask them to help retrieve his card or help him do some banking now that he lost his card. Maybe get some answers from them. But this is a Florida man. I'm trying to put reason into the equation. What's wrong with me? It says damage to the ATM was estimated to be $3,000. Oh, that's terrible considering he was only trying to get $30 out. The bank employees provided some photos of the man and his truck. The police ran the plate, and it came back as registered to an electrician by the name of Michael Scotty, age 56, who lives in Leesburg. When the police went to Scotty's home, he met them at the front door and immediately said, "You must be here because of the ATM." I love that he was just waiting for that. Yep, they'll be here any minute. I suppose I should hand over my hammer. Scotty said he became very frustrated when he could not get the ATM to return his bank card. That's what he told the police anyways. He didn't have a personal vendetta against the ATM machine. He was just angry that the ATM machine stole from him. He was placed under arrest on a charge of criminal mischief, over $1,000, etc., etc. I like this guy, though. He's a Florida man that's going to save us from the robot uprising, which is going to happen any minute. I don't know if you've seen these powerful AI tools, but we need more Florida men with hammers to save us from the robot uprising, guys. Do you agree? A Florida woman kicked her man in the groin for not bringing her to a strip club. North Fort Myers, Florida. All Elizabeth Sherlock Mason wanted to do was have a nice evening. It was the weekend, after all. She wanted to have some fun. It's all most people can ask for these days. We got a recession tumbling into our lives. She just wanted to go to the strip club. It was a chilly Florida evening, and Elizabeth was planning to do something extraordinary and fun. She wanted her significant other to take her to a local gentleman's club. What a nice time, you and your lady at the gentleman's club. However, before hitting up the entertainment and libations, Elizabeth, our Florida woman, star of the story, first wanted the evening to kick off at one of her favorite bars, the Naughty Parrot. The Naughty Parrot is similar to a strip club, but it's all naked birds in there. Stupid joke. The local waterfront bar and grill, known as the Naughty Parrot, was a logical place to begin the festivities. And according to the arrest report, Elizabeth was very adamant about getting the party started. She wanted to get to partying. She's a Florida woman. And when they want to get to partying, they really want to get to partying. Her accomplice told the police that as soon as they arrived, Elizabeth began ordering drinks and then, unfortunately, became verbally abusive. Finally, when it became apparent that she was intoxicated, he attempted to persuade Elizabeth to leave the naughty parrot. Elizabeth was okay with leaving the naughty parrot as long as they went over to that strip club she had her eye on. She had plans for the evening. That was when the victim said, "No, I would just like to go home." At this point, she was a little inebriated. He was probably afraid for his life. Seems reasonable. When he said that, Elizabeth jumped into action to save her celebratory night and preserve her evening entertainment. She wanted to go to Lookers, the strip club. Nothing was going to stop her. She was very angry. She grabbed the man by the neck and began applying pressure to the neck. That can be dangerous. In flight or fight mode, her now opponent grabbed her wrists with both hands, leaving him unsuspectingly vulnerable to attack. With no obstructions, Elizabeth wound her leg up and unloaded a punt right below her partner's belt. You know the area. Elizabeth unleashed a finishing groin shot to her man. It was so violent that she herself fell onto the floor. While her victim gathered himself as best he could, Elizabeth went out to the parking lot to find a ride. She wanted to get away from this chaos that she had left behind and make her way over to the gentleman's club and finish out her night in good spirits. The police arrived at 10:45. She was still in the parking lot. They spoke to her and witnesses. They found a strong odor of alcohol emanating from Elizabeth, the Florida woman star of the story. She was immediately arrested and charged with battery on someone 65 or older. What do we learn here, guys? When a Florida woman wants to go to a strip club, you better take her to the strip club. A Florida woman told the police that the crack pipe was actually her sex toy. Well, that's one way to get your rocks off. A Florida woman claimed that a crack pipe found protruding from her vagina during a strip search was actually a sex toy. Well, I mean, at that moment, she's not wrong. It's inside her. Well, anything is a sex toy if you're creative. Also, anything is a crack pipe, too, if you're also very creative. How did all this happen? Well, we have our Florida woman, Carmela Ann Maines, age 57. She was arrested on Wednesday in Clearwater after she failed to show up to court to face some shoplifting charges. I wonder if that's where she got the sex toy. But while Carmela was being processed at the Pinellas County Jail, a body scan revealed an abnormality in the genital area of her. An arrest affidavit said that during the strip search that was conducted on the suspect, a glass crack pipe was found protruding from the defendant's vagina. Carmela, alarmed, removed the contraband from her cavity and then intentionally threw the crack pipe on the ground and stepped on it in an effort to destroy the evidence. It's too late, honey. They already have an x-ray of it protruding from your vagina cavity. She then, quote, tried to explain that the object was actually a sex toy, despite the fact that it was consistent with a pipe commonly used to smoke crack cocaine, they say, and it was covered with burnt markings, which is usually a mark of a pipe commonly used to smoke crack cocaine. You normally don't find your sex toys with burnt markings on them, at least not the sex toys I've seen. Then again, I've never seen a sex toy that belonged to a Florida woman. You know, I don't want to say that this woman is lying. I mean, given the context of the crack pipe, it is in a vaginal cavity, which means that at that moment it is a sex toy. You could test the residue on the crack pipe to also prove it's been used as a crack pipe. Perhaps she uses it as a crack pipe and a sex toy at the same time with a partner. That seems very creative. Well, either way, I think we're learning something very important here, and that is one woman's crack pipe is another woman's sex toy. Or in some cases, the same woman. Well, I'll trade you my machete for your crack pipe. I left mine in a public restroom Saturday night. I'll trade you my machete for your crack pipe. Well, I'm a Florida man and I don't feel right without my crack pipe. Ooh, my crack pipe. A A Florida man told the police that Jesus instructed him to drive his Ferrari off a pier. Do you mean Jesus, the Son of God, or is Jesus the parking lot attendant? I think Jesus, the parking lot attendant, told you to park it in lot B, buddy, not drive it into the ocean. The name of this Florida man, James Mucaccio. Oh, James Mucaccio. I love Mucaccio bread. Is he the inventor of it? Maybe that's why he has a nice Ferrari. He's 48 years old, this Florida man. He's got a Ferrari 360 because things are really happening in his life. He's either doing well in business or he scammed the government with one of those fake COVID loans. He drove his car off the end of a dock in Palm Beach after a confrontation with a police officer. Mucaccio's motivation to drive the car off the pier is said to be religious in nature. Well, I hate to tell you, buddy, but Jesus was all about walking on water, not driving into the water. I think you're confusing his the activities of the Son of God. Mucaccio was rummaging through his Ferrari 360, it says, with the car parked on the public Palm Beach dock when he was approached by a police officer who told Mucaccio he couldn't park there. Mucaccio explained to the police that he was waiting for a friend to pick him up, and instead of moving the car into the right direction, he actually decided to accelerate back down the dock in the other direction that he was not allowed, pitching his supercar off the end of the dock and into 30 feet of salt water. How strange. Mucaccio escaped the vehicle before it sank completely and was rescued by two fishermen who turned Mucaccio over to the waiting policeman. The officer then asked Mucaccio what compelled him to sink his Ferrari, and he reportedly called the officer an Egyptian who didn't believe in Jesus. That's making a lot of assumptions there. We have a quote from our Florida man, Mucaccio Bread. He said, "Jesus told me to drive through a small gate and into a 6-foot window. Jesus made me the smartest man on earth, and it's so hard to have this much responsibility. Money is going to be irrelevant in 2 days. Remember to smile." Wow, Mucaccio is quoting Jesus. He ought to author a gospel on this. Apparently, Jesus wants us all to know that money is going to be irrelevant in 2 days and to smile. And if you have a Ferrari, drive it into the sea. Police recovered the sunken Ferrari shortly thereafter and discovered that the car's plate was registered to a Ford Mustang in the ownership of Mucaccio. That's not his fault, you know. He has all these license plates and only 2 cars. He switches them out a lot. Mucaccio's apparent removal of property from the Ferrari suggests the incident may have been insurance fraud in the making. Well, you know, insurance fraud 101. You don't do it in front of a cop, bro. What's wrong with you? It says here, though, given the statements from Mucaccio, specifically about the words of the Son of God, they're implying that a mental health crisis, potentially schizophrenia or a manic episode might be at play. I agree. Regardless, it's best to keep Christ and driving behavior separate. You like podcasts? You're listening to my podcast. Maybe you thought to yourself, I'd like to make a podcast. Too difficult. No, not with Anchor. Anchor has free creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor distributes your podcast to Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. They have advertising integration, so you can even make a little money off your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your creation. Good luck with your life, man. Yay! I got gonorrhea from a bingo board and nobody cared, cause it's the villages. STDs are everywhere and nobody cares. In the villages there's STDs and everywhere and nobody cares. Yay! Oh, what a great Florida Friday episode, and I have to thank you guys for it because those articles, most of them came from you guys. So thanks for sending me Florida articles the past 2 days. That was super helpful. There was so many good ones. It was hard to choose, bro. I hope you're having a nice weekend, or you had one. Maybe you're about to have a nice weekend. Please do enjoy the playoffs, the playoff football that's upcoming. I wanted to let you guys know that I did a great show this week with comedy legend Harlan Williams, and I put up a photo of me and Harlan on my Instagram at Funny Jones if you'd like to see that. Harlan's been in some great movies like Something About Mary, Half Baked. Yeah, he's a super nice guy from Toronto, so shout out to Harlan Williams. He got a very funny podcast as well you should check out. What a nice dude. Very, very nice. Okay, if you guys would like to call the show, and I'm going to publish a couple calls after this, shout out to Hannah from Chicago and the Roaster Toaster who called in to roast me, I believe. Shout out to them. The number is 646-450-2012. Hannah had a question about how she can contact other listeners of the podcast, or how is there a place where the podcasters can, the fans of the podcast can like interact, and that place is the Patreon. There's already a bunch of OGs in the Patreon, and you can have communication in there. It's kind of like a private group. So that would be the answer to that question. Other than that, I don't know how you would do that. I guess you could go to like the Weird AF News Instagram or Facebook page. You could do a search for that. But then I don't know if anybody's who's on there. I have no idea. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have any ideas for that. I'm open, but the Patreon seems to be the place. And you can join the Patreon by going to patreon.com/weirdafnews or going to weirdafnews.com, clicking on the Patreon banner. Or you can download the Patreon app on your smartphone and do a search for Weird AF News, and you can jump in there with the other weirdos. And you can get extra weird content that I put in there as well, such as videos of me reviewing strange, weird snacks that listeners send me. I'm going to post another one of those videos today or tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So look for that if you're a patron. Shout out to all my patrons. A lot of love. Okay, that's it, guys. Be safe, and we'll see you on Monday, right? Monday? Will you be here? Please be here. Don't be late either. I can't stand it when you guys are tardy, or as we say in Boston, tardy.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Roaster Toaster, and Jonesy was doing a podcast where he was saying that people, they didn't even know where their rectum was. 55% of people don't even know where their rectum is. And I gotta say, if you don't know where your rectum is, you got a real problem. You know, I would say rectum, damn near killed him. That's right. And then Jonesy, he was saying he didn't have any problem finding his rectum. He found it the first time he looked for it. Jonesy, what are you looking for it for? That's what I gotta say. Well, you know, the problem here that people not knowing where their rectum is, they went on to say that people didn't even know where their reproductive parts were. And that's a bad problem. Jonesy, he says, well, it certainly ain't in your tongue. Maybe that's part of your problem, Jonesy. If you turned your tongue like it was part of your sexual reproductive parts, you might have more luck with the ladies. That's what she said. Well, you know, other parts of the stories were that the most important part of the stories was that people didn't know what where their brain was. 63% of people knew where their brain were, but then Jonesy says, what about the other 27% of the people? Well, let's do the math here, Jonesy. 63, 27 only equals 90. What about the other 10% of the people? Oop, 63 and 27 is only 90. Let's do the math. What do you think? I don't know. Some of the people, some of the time. Well, where are your brains at, Jonesy? I don't know. Okay. So that one doesn't go over so good. But some of the people like it, some of them don't. All right. So then the stories go on and on. It gets worse and worse about people who don't even know where their parts are. But I got to tell you this. Jonesy, we love you. We care about you. And we want you to succeed in everything you do. But what is that phrase that people use at the end of your podcast? Something like, I had good luck with your wife, man. Yeah, I had good luck with your wife, man. That's the story. All right. Thank you very much, people.
Hey Jonesy, it's Hannah from Chicago. I can't sleep. I'm so tired I almost forgot the phone number. But I was gonna ask you, like, is there like a limit on the number of messages that we're supposed to leave you? Like, will we annoy you if we just, leave you a voice message every week? And also, like, is there a way that, like, the Weird AF News community can connect? Like, it would be cool to, it would be fun to contact some of the listeners who listen to this podcast and or donate to this podcast. And whale meat, like whale meat and whale pieces and canned whale. Like, is there a difference between whale meat and whale pieces? Because wouldn't the pieces be made of meat as well? And, like, what is canned whale made of? What does it taste like? Is it just, is it mushy, Like, oh my God, I can't even imagine what it would be like to eat canned whale. But yeah. Good luck with your life, man.